Welcome, foolish mortals.
Time to be turning around. If only you could.
'Cause this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness!
Hey, Henry, what's holding you up? Let's get on with the show. We can't hang around here all day.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for.
There's no turning back now.
This is the greatest show!
It's coming on the burning lights. With the runaways are running tonight. Impossible comes true. It's taking over you. This is the greatest show.
Now it's time for the WDW Beyond the Gates podcast with your hosts, Michael Hurley and Gary Aruda. That's right. This is the WDW Beyond the Gates podcast, episode number 550, recorded from the D. Fauntleroy Studios in Kent County, Rhode Island, and not so sunny Southwest Florida. I'm your host, Gary, joined by no one this week. This is a solo show. Mike in Southwest Florida, obviously still dealing with the effects of Hurricane Milton. Mike had no power in the studio all week. He just regained power earlier today, but wasn't ready to record. So lucky for the listeners, you get to hear just me this week. So a very special treat, as I'm sure you are all very excited to just hear from me for about 35 or 40 minutes as we discuss some Walt Disney World stuff. But Mike's doing okay. Obviously, he wasn't in an evacuation zone, so he didn't have to leave, but he lost power early on. I want to say like Tuesday night, and he just regained it late Sunday afternoon, so he wasn't really up for recording. Just a couple hours later, a lot of stuff he had to get back in order once his power was restored. So he'll be back in studio next week for episode 551. We'll talk a little more about how we dealt with Milton and all that stuff. I haven't really talked to him much because he's been essentially off the grid. He had no real good cell service either, so we'd get a message occasionally here and there checking in to see how he was doing, but didn't get a lot of feedback on what happened at his place during the hurricane. He's not far from Sarasota, and that took a big hit in that area. I know the Sarasota airport took a ton of damage. I'm sure everyone out there listening saw the pictures and videos of the Tampa Bay Rays Stadium Tropicana Field, where the whole roof was ripped off in the storm. So a lot of digging out to do and infrastructure to put back in place for the people on that side of the state, on the Gulf side, where they took a lot of the damage, obviously. So, obviously our thoughts go out to all the people dealing with that. Any listeners that might be dealing with it as well, you have our thoughts and our sympathy and empathy, and hope you get back to normal as soon as possible. But speaking of normal, the show must go on. We're on to episode number 550. We just keep marching along doing this show week after week. Like I said, wanted to get this out there, even though Mike's not able to join me in studio. But I had an idea of what I wanted to talk about, and I thought it was a good topic, even just for a solo show, because I've been trying to figure out if going with the dining plan again. So I went to Disney World in July. We were there for 9 nights, and we did the dining plan. And you can go back and listen, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 episodes ago, where I did the review. I did the math of if the dining plan was worth it. We really tried to max it out when we went, and I felt like we got a good value out of it based on what we would have paid out of pocket for what we got, with the caveat that we probably wouldn't have eaten at so many of those character meals, buffets, things like that. The more expensive ones we probably wouldn't have done, and I probably wouldn't have ordered as many adult beverages, especially at the meals. I don't normally order a cocktail or two at a meal, but because of the dining plan and because my wife doesn't drink, I was able to get a couple of cocktails with every meal because that comes with the dining plan entitlement. So now we're going again in December for 2 nights. We're going early Friday, coming home late on a Sunday. So 2 nights, 3 days, just a quick trip to see everything at Christmas. We were able to get a studio at Saratoga for a couple nights, and we're going to take the girls down and do that. And I was thinking, I'm not going to do the dining plan this time. We have the annual pass, which you get discounts at some of the places with an annual pass, which I was not getting previously. But now that I have an annual pass and get the discount, so that kind of brings into question whether it's worth it. But then I started to look into what we might want to do as far as dining when we're down there. And I don't know, is it worth it for a short trip? 2 adults, 2 kids. This would be the last chance that my oldest daughter will be considered a child for dining plan purposes because she'll be turning 10 at the end of the year. So she can still get in under the cheaper, quote unquote, price for the dining plan. So let's talk about it. Let's see what makes the most sense, how we can, if we can make it worth it on a shorter trip, because there is a pretty good cost. I'm thinking of the traditional dining plan, which gives you 1 table service meal per person per night, 1 quick service meal per person per night, 1 snack per person per night, and a refillable mug. So we'd get 4 mugs, 8 snacks, 8 table serves, 8 quick serves for $495.92. So essentially $500 for 2 nights on the dining plan, family of 4, 2 adults, 2 kids. Sounds like a lot. Like when you say $500 for 2 nights of eating, that sounds high. But when you break it down, it's $88 per adult per night, $27.90 per child per night. After taxes and everything, comes to $495.92. And I was trying to decide if we were going to eat at 2 sit downs, what makes the most sense? Where are we going to be on those nights? What makes the most sense to take advantage of it? And if it's even worth it, if it's even close to break even, probably don't want to do it because we don't really need the mugs. We're not going to be in the resorts that much. So the mugs don't do us a lot of good. The quick serves are nice because you can get a drink with that. So if we're in the parks and we want to get or me, if I want to get a cocktail or 2, that's a good way to do it to kind of defer that cost. But I guess we could break it down a little. First and foremost, like I said, we'll figure out the cost and if it's worth it. So what we were thinking of doing the first night when we arrive, we were going to do probably Hollywood Studios at night, and thought it would be good for the girls and a place I haven't been to. And I've heard mixed reviews, but more recently, more positive reviews, and that's Hollywood and Vine, the buffet at Hollywood Studios. And one of the reasons I think it would be really good to go, especially close to Christmas, is because they do the seasonal costumes. So it'd be really nice for the kids to see Minnie and Mickey, and I think it's Goofy and Donald, I believe, in their holiday bests at Hollywood and Vine. And that one really gives you a good bang for your buck with the dining plan because you're looking at $63 per adult and $40 per child. So the cost of that buffet more than pays for the whole day of the child's dining plan. So you're at 103, so $206 right there for that meal, and that's without drinks. So assuming 2 cocktails on top of it, which they have $17 cocktails, $16 cocktails. So that's another, let's say, $32. So that's $240 right there. So that's almost half of the cost of the whole dining plan just built into that Hollywood and Vine meal. So as soon as I thought about Hollywood and Vine and looked at those prices, that's what made me think maybe the dining plan is the way to go once again, because even saving 10% with the annual pass, you're only saving 20 something dollars and you don't get discounts on alcohol. So that brings it down to, $190. And then assuming you don't get a cocktail, so now you're still at $190, which is pretty close, $50 less than what it would be and what you're getting towards your dining plan. That doesn't include any quick serves that day, which, if we're at Saratoga Springs, that's close to Disney Springs, which has Polite Pig, which is the best value you can get for a quick serve on the dining plan. I mean, that can be upwards of $35 for an adult meal if you get a cocktail with that. So you can really make a good value out of that. But even if not, let's say we plan to be at Animal Kingdom during the day and we do lunch at Flame Tree or Satuli, you're looking at $15, $16 plus a drink for the adults. And like I said, the kids with one meal at Hollywood Vine, they're already paid for. So all that stuff is kind of a bonus that day. So having that in mind, I'm really starting to think maybe doing the dining plan again is worth it. Even not using the mugs and not going to be at the resort as much as normal on a longer trip. I'm starting to think, I don't know. If Hollywood and Vine is the move, then I think the dining plan really could be a value for us. Our second night, we were planning to be at Epcot for most of the day. And another place I've never been that I've been dying to try is Biergarten in Germany. Again, I've heard mixed things on it, but I'd like to give it a try. It seems like it'd be a really cool atmosphere, especially around Christmas. I know Mike has talked about doing a cruise at Christmas in Germany and going to those German markets. And it just seems, I know they don't do anything really different at Biergarten at Christmas, but it just seems like a really cool atmosphere at Christmas in Biergarten, like a big long table with a bunch of people getting that big stein of beer. And again, this is another one where you get a pretty good bang for your buck on the dining plan. The adult price is $49 and the child price is $27. So again, that one meal gives you your break-even point for the child's dining plan for that day. So we're at, what was that, 76, 152? 152 there for dinner at Biergarten, plus the 240-ish. We're getting real close to the break-even point without even incorporating snacks or quick serves. Again, with the drinks, you can get those giant, beers we were talking about, and those are $17 a piece. So two of those is $34 on top of everything. So now you're at close to $200 plus $240. You're at $450 essentially with just the two sit-down meals, and the price of the dining plan is $495. So again, would we go to both of these places without the dining plan? Probably not. We would probably just do one or the other. And maybe do an extra quick serve or a cheaper sit down where the kids' meals aren't quite as expensive, and even the adult meals. I mean, we're not spending $60 pretty much anywhere at a normal sit down for an adult. But I mean, there are places we haven't been. They're pretty cool environments, especially for that time of year. I think it fits in. And plus, it kind of fits into our plans of where we're going to be at the time. So again, I think the Hollywood and Vine really is the tipping point, because if we decide to go there for dinner that first night, like paying out of pocket, that's a lot of money for a buffet. I know it's a character buffet. I know some of the offerings are pretty good. I want to look at this menu. Obviously, it's a buffet, so the list is never, set in stone. Things change, things get updated. But they have, the breads and salads, things like that. Peel and eat shrimp, which That's not my favorite. I like a shrimp cocktail, but I don't like to work for it. Peel and eat, not really my thing. I'll do one or two, but just I don't know. It's too much work for not a ton of reward. There's a lot of other stuff that I'd rather have on a buffet than spending my time peeling a bunch of shrimp. Um, Sour cream and chive mashed potatoes, caramelized Brussels sprouts, which, by the way, the whiskey caramel Brussels sprouts from Polite Pig still might be one of the best things I've ever eaten, and definitely a top 5 thing I've had at Walt Disney World. And if these things are even close to that, it's worth the price of the buffet to get these caramelized Brussels sprouts. That sounds really good. There's a salmon, miso, wasabi, oven roasted turkey breast, oven roasted herb chicken, roasted mushroom farro risotto, crispy tofu with Asian glaze, spice rubbed pork loin with sauerkraut, slaw, and apple gastrique, a seafood pasta, olive oil herbed crushed potatoes, roast beef strip loin with horseradish cream. So the pork loin and the strip loin are probably the carving stations. And then there's still chicken, turkey, salmon, seafood pasta. So it's a decent offering. And I'm sure they have all the normal stuff like the kids stuff, the mac and cheese, the chicken nuggets, the corn dogs, meatballs, plain pasta. They're going to have all the like charcuterie, the cheeses and the meats in the salad section. And of course, a bunch of desserts. It doesn't really say what the desserts would be, but they'd have probably an ice cream machine, pastries, cakes, things like that for the desserts. So it sounds pretty good. I mean, if the pork loin is cooked well, a spice rub pork loin with sauerkraut, slaw, and apple gastrique sounds really good. Roast beef strip loin, which is essentially a prime rib, sounds pretty good. Turkey, not my favorite, but if it's good, if it's like a really moist, good piece of turkey, that's a fan favorite in my family. Not a ton of sides though. Again, it says partial listing, so I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff. They probably have corn and things like that, but no soups listed. Usually there's a soup or two on most of the buffets at Disney, which, especially in December, sounds pretty tempting. So Hollywood and Vine needs to do a little more research, but that one's on the short list. And then as far as Biergarten, that's always been a place I've wanted to go. And I don't know, like even the menu doesn't do anything for me looking at it, but when I've watched videos and seen pictures of it, it always looks more appealing than it sounds. It has salads, all the different sausages, bratwurst, all that kind of stuff. Rotisserie chicken. They have sauerkraut, potatoes, spatzel, schnitzel, noodle gratin. None of that sounds really anything crazy or extraordinary, but I've been dying to try it. I have never eaten there. It's always been on my list. I think the kids would like it. They like kielbasa and stuff like that, so I think they would enjoy it. Plus, you can't go wrong with chicken and potatoes. And I assume, again, all the buffets have like a kids section that has the normal safe stuff, chicken nuggets, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, hot dogs, things like that. So no one's going to go hungry at this. And then the assorted desserts. I've heard, if I remember correctly, they have like a apple strudel that's supposed to be really good at Biergarten. But I don't know. I just feel like watching the show at Christmas time, having dinner in a big group just appeals to me. It really seems like a really good, perfect kind of place. I know it's meant to be like an Oktoberfest, but a lot of times that just screams like holidays to me. So it makes me think of it in that vein for those two. So I don't know if those two happen. I feel like the dining plan is a no-brainer. For $500. I'm already 80-90% of the way there with just the two sit downs, and I feel like I'm playing with house money at that point with any kind of quick serve. Again, especially if I get a couple drinks. If we order the alcohol with table serves and the quick serves, 8 drinks or 4 drinks. Well, no, eight drinks, so 4 per day. really adds up because you figure a drink at Disney is at least a beer is like 10 and a cocktail is at least 15. So you're at like, let's say 25 to split the difference per meal. So 50, that's another $100 right there just in alcohol. Snacks, again, let's say $7 a snack. So 8 of those is another $50-$60. The mugs, I know they're $22-$23, whatever they are. I'm not even going to count that towards it, but it's still something, even if we only use it a couple times. It's another $80 that we're not spending. But I know 100% we would not have gotten those. We wouldn't get the mugs, or at least if we did, we'd get just one to share and get drinks occasionally when we're near the quick serve or the pool where we can refill it. But that's not something that I'm really even going to take into account. But the snacks, we'll definitely be using the snacks and the quick serves for sure. It just, I don't know. I still can't get over the $500. $495 is just a lot to just dish out right out of the gate. I know I could spend less if I wanted to. If we just did all quick serves and went cheap and we didn't get, a ton of snacks and we didn't have any alcohol, we could probably do for the 3 days we're there all meals for maybe $300, $100 a day. That's probably pushing it. Maybe 400. So I guess when you think of it that way, with one sit down and the rest quick serves and just kind of eating lighter or cheaper, how much are you really saving? They make it tough. Disney knows how to really make you think with this dining plan because there's not a ton of like you're really close no matter what you do. And you can make it work for you like I'm trying to do, picking expensive options for the credits to make it work. I like the convenience though. I love having the credits in the app and just being able to use them, especially for the snacks and the quick serves when you do a mobile order and you could just use your quick serve credits that way. It's super convenient. You make sure you get all your allotments properly. The app works really well for that. I know we give Disney's IT a hard time a lot of times, justifiably so, but as far as the dining plan goes, they seem to have that figured out pretty good. It helps with the allotments there. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what you listeners think if for 4 people, 3 days, if $500 is enough. And granted, we'd probably have to spend some out of pocket on the last day because our flight's later. And even if we save maybe 2 of the quick serves, like we could split the quick serves and kind of share because some of them are bigger. So if we had like one adult and one kid and we all 4 split, knowing we're having a bigger sit down, then we could save some of the quick serves for the last day, which might be what we do just to try to spread out the cost a little better. But probably gonna have to pay some out of pocket for that last day for some snacks or maybe a meal or 2. But that would probably only be another $50 to $75, I would imagine, out of pocket. I like the convenience of the prepay. I know it doesn't save anything, but I mean, I could, again, this is just kind of thinking as I'm going, but I could buy the gift cards from Target where I get the 5% off using the Target card. So now that brings it down another $25 to $470 using the Target gift cards, paying for the dining plan with gift cards helps cut into that. And I know there's times where you can get those gift cards even a little cheaper, but I have the Target one. That's the easiest one for me because I just buy it through the app, upload the gift card right to my my e-wallet or whatever, and buy the dining plan that way. So I'm really on the fence. I think I'm leaning towards using the dining plan. The only other thing that could really throw a wrench, and I don't know, just because we're at the point where they haven't announced it yet, if the candlelight processional dining package is available, if it's available to be used with the dining plan, or if you can only pay out of pocket for that. Because when we're in Epcot, it would be make the most sense to try to use our dining reservation to get a spot for the candlelight processional, especially it's going to be a Saturday. It's going to be busier that time of year. That's the last weekend before Christmas, before the passes get blocked out. I mean, looking at DVC, there's not a single room available for that weekend across any resort DVC, whether it's studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, grand villas. There's no availability that weekend. And being able to snag one of those candlelight processional dining packages would be the best way to ensure we can get a spot for the candlelight processional, which I'd really like to do if we're going to be there at Epcot for Christmas. I mean, that's kind of one of the best things they do. I know Mike raves about it. I did it once a long time ago, and I really liked it. I'd love to go back, especially taking the kids this time, doing the candlelight processional. So I couldn't find anywhere, whether yay or nay it takes it. The dining plan has been gone for a while. This is the first year it's been back. So obviously this is the first year post-COVID where the dining plan could be used for the candlelight processional. And I don't know yet if it would be. That would obviously be even better because the candlelight processional is usually an additional cost on top of what the meal would be. So Biergarten, for example, instead of being $49, it's probably like $65 for an adult with the candlelight processional package. So being able to use the dining plan for that would be even more of a value. So that would kind of push it over the edge. The nice thing is I have time. I don't have to buy the dining plan. I could buy it the day before we leave. Because it was booked through DVC. So I can add it on at any time, and I can still make my dining reservations and change them and amend them based on what we do as we come down. But I'd be really curious what people think, if anyone's used it for a shorter stay, if it feels like it's a better value or a worse value. I don't know, I just feel like 500 just seems like a lot. But again, as I break it down live, this is kind of really the first time I've done the math and really thought about it. So I'm experiencing it as we speak with you, the listeners, and trying to figure out if this is the best route. I just keep looking at that Hollywood and Vine price, $40 per child for Hollywood and Vine. I mean, that's such a good use of a dining credit, and out of pocket, it would feel like a ripoff because I know my youngest won't eat much. She's not eating $40 worth, but being able to see the characters dressed up in their holiday Christmas outfits is going to be great for them too. They love that. They love the character dining, and being there at Christmas, that's perfect. But I don't know. And again, having the quick serves, you kind of just poo-poo them and don't think about them because, you know, where are you going to be for quick serve? Are we going to go to, Regal Eagle again, which is a pretty good value with the quick serve? Or maybe in Mexico, the Cantina de San Angel. That's another good value for quick serve. Animal Kingdom, I said like Flame Tree, Satuli, even Yak and Yeti. Those are pretty decent uses of a dining plan, depending on what option you get. Magic Kingdom, again, because the lack of alcohol, the value doesn't really go there. And plus the quick service there's kind of trash. I mean, all the food there is kind of trash outside of a couple places, but never really take into account Magic Kingdom too much just because I don't particularly enjoy eating there. It's a good use for snacks though, with your Dole Whips and your citrus swirls and things like that. So it's not the worst place for food. It's just probably the worst place for sit downs and quick serves, especially. There's not really a quick serve at Magic Kingdom that I particularly enjoy or look forward to. I know Pecos Bill just changed their menu around, but again, no alcohol takes away about $10 worth of value on each quick serve adult dining credit that you use at Magic Kingdom, because if you don't get like a $10, $11 beer or a $12, $15 cocktail with your quick serve, you're kind of leaving money on the table, especially if you're someone like me who does enjoy to have a few cocktails on vacation. Why pay for them out of pocket if you can get them included with your dining plan? It's kind of a no-brainer. I'm trying to think of what other places quick serve wise. Let's look at Satuli, because I haven't really looked at that menu in a while. It's pretty unique, obviously, and the pricing is pretty up there. I think it's a pretty good value for a quick serve. So if you get the bowl, the combo bowl with braised beef and the combo, smoked chimichurri braised beef and wood grilled chicken, $17.49 for that meal. Plus you get a beverage. So they have margarita for $14, and then they have beers for $11.25. So again, you're at $30 for a meal there. So that's a pretty good use. And even the kids ones are $8 or $9 there. So you're getting a pretty good value out of the dining plan at Satuli. So let's say we have lunch there. Even if you don't get it, even the cheapest option is $13.29. That's just the chicken bowl. Cheeseburger pods, those are both $13.29. So if you get that and a drink, you're still at $26, $27. The more expensive one, you're over $30. So again, good use of the dining plan. It's very dependent on drinking. I mean, the dining plan is a good value if you like to have the cocktails. Even the beer doesn't add it. It's that $17 cocktail that really pushes it over the edge, and that's where you can really see some return on this dining plan, in my opinion. So I think a lot of people that poo-poo the dining plan don't want to have those cocktails or don't drink with their meals, which obviously is perfectly fine. And if that's the case, it might not be worth it. And if you're doing regular sit downs where the kids' meals are $12 and you're paying $26 for an entree, it's a lot harder to reach that threshold. But if you're doing character dining and you can get those 1 credit character meals, it's a no-brainer. It's becoming more and more apparent to me that I think I got to do it. And like I said, I could save the 5% with the Target gift cards. I think it's the way to go, bringing it down even a little more. And who knows, maybe there's somebody I can pass my mugs off to that can use them for a few days after I'm gone who might appreciate that, because they're not, I probably wouldn't even use them, to be honest. 4 of them for sure we wouldn't use, maybe 1 or 2. So I don't know. It's just a thought. Just would like to get it out there and see what you think. I'll be interested to hear Mike's thoughts. I'll have him make sure he listens to the full episode this week, and then he can give some of his thoughts on what he thinks on my my thought process, whether the dining plan is worth it for a short trip. Because I know he did get the dining plan when he was at Boardwalk when we were there in July, and he was only there for 2 nights, and he ended up doing the dining plan for just him and Susie, and he felt it was a pretty good value. They did get the cocktails, and we did go, Topolino's and Woody's Rodeo Roundup, whatever it's called, and those are some more expensive single credit meals. So I think he felt like he got pretty good value out of it. And again, with the kids, that price point's pretty good with the kids at $27 per day, especially with the dining. With the character meals and the buffets, really makes it worth it. If Georgina was priced as an adult on this trip at 10 years old, which she will be next year, or even the end of this year, a couple weeks after we go. Going from 27 to like 88 per person, then that's where the dining plan stops making sense for our family, because you can't justify a 10-year-old spending $88 a day. And that's just when the buffets are gone, because I can't pay an adult price $60 for a 10-year-old to eat at Hollywood and Vine. It's not going to happen. So I guess this is pretty much the last hurrah for that until they're much older and they eat a lot more, and they make that value worth it, because it's just too much. It's a bridge too far for me. I don't mind spending the money, but I just can't fork over that much more for her to eat the same small amount at a buffet that she ate, 3 months prior, because she happened to be 9. And now all of a sudden she's 10, and now it's $40 more for that same buffet. I wish there was an in-between, but, Disney can do it how they want. It makes sense for them to do it that way. So it's the way it is. Just got to deal with it, and that's why we probably won't be using the dining plan in 2025 and beyond. But this is our last chance, and I think we'll do it. And I'll report back for sure whether I decide to or not. Definitely strong. I'm leaning a lot stronger towards yes, towards doing the dining plan. And also, it's important to kind of figure out, because I have to make reservations. My dining reservation window opens tomorrow, so I want to get those in the books. And then, like I said, I can move them around and change them if necessary. If we decide not to do the dining plan, obviously we can cancel or change them to something else. But that's really all I have for this episode. I guess I'll go through the socials as I usually do at the end. You can go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/@WDWBTG, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok @WDWBTG, our Facebook group, WDW Beyond the Gates Podcast Family, our website, WDWBTG.com. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us reviews. That does help us out quite a bit. You can email the show, info@WDWBTG.com, Mike@WDWBTG.com, and Gary@WDWBTG.com. I'll usually ask Mike here if I forgot anything. He will say no. So I'm going to keep moving forward with bringing this episode to an end. That's going to do it for episode number 550 of the WDW Beyond the Gates podcast. For my absent co-host, Mike, and my name is Gary, thanks so much for listening, and we will talk to you again next week.
Now it's time to say goodbye to all our company. M-I-C
See you real soon.
K-E-Y
Why? Because we like you.
M-O